Tamsen, we're here. We're ready to chat. I want to start by saying you're doing so many things to help women and to help men
Thank you.
and to help
Thank
men.
you.
So I want to share a
They need help
conversation,
too.
right? So I did a period talk brand partnership with Kotex recently, and I was so freaking proud to have this conversation about periods because my daughter's
Yeah.
10. And a
Aw.
conversation I had with my son and daughter yesterday, she's 10, he is 8. The conversation was we adopted a 6-month-old lab mix
Okay.
rescue dog who's going to be hormonal soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I said to my son, I go, lucky you, you've got the 3 hormonal girlies in the house. Mom going through the perimenopause. And he's like, what's that? And I'm actually, because of creators like you and sharers like you, I'm having these conversations with my son and my daughter.
Oh, I love that. I
And
love
it's
that.
and I make it funny. That's our love language. But let's talk about the stuff you have going on. And
Yeah.
then we will
Yeah.
just have a conversation like 2 best friends on the couch talking about
I love it.
perimenopause and
I,
menopause.
lo- I love it. It's become my new dinner party conversation. My husband said, he's like, how come every time we go somewhere that everybody talks to you about menopause and perimenopause? Like, are you bringing it up? And I go, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of like we slide into it somehow.
It's
So
coming up. It's
it's
trending.
coming up.
It's
It's
trending.
a hot topic.
It is. So where I'll begin is this journey for me of being a creator. It means I'm spending more time online. I'm
Yeah.
doing content full time. So I'm
Yeah.
seeing the feed and I'm seeing late onset ADHD, not late onset, but late diagnosis with
Hmm.
ADHD.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot about hormone changes in women's health over 40. And the story that I heard when I was listening to you as a guest on another podcast was we were both in the scenario of blaming our early 40s divorce
Hmm.
for our symptoms. So part of
Yeah.
me wants to say, damn it, I got a divorce and I was ready for this amazing next chapter. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah. I
Um,
know. And that was the furthest thing from my mind. Like
right.
I wasn't even, I mean, literally not even a word. Well, perimenopause I didn't even know until a few years ago, when I started this whole journey. But I had no idea. I was like, my gosh, I'm anxious and crying and sad and getting wet, all this stuff. And I had no idea. And then it's funny, as I was writing my book and I look back, I'm like, because I was doing now my years, I'm like, what year was that? What years? I was 41, 42, 42. And it made sense to me.
Yeah. So tell me about the symptoms because I think it's like we hear the words and a lot of
Mm.
interviews that I hear we're talking about, oh, do you feel like you're falling apart and night sweat?
Yeah.
Like I just want to talk about those first things that start coming up.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
memory of that?
Yeah, you know what I think the biggest one I think that had the most impact on my life and continued to have the most impact on my life for the longest was lack of sleep. I was that girl that would, because I worked in news for a long time, so I'd get up at 2:30 in the morning, be at work by 3 a.m., work all day long, work all night long, and then and then I did the other side of the clock where I worked at 3 p.m. and was out at midnight and then was out till 3 in the morning in New York City, like the best city in the world. So I would be able to hit the pillow, go to sleep, wake up, and be fine. And then all of a sudden it stopped. Like I stopped being able to fall asleep. I started being panicky going to bed and like fearing going to bed. And then I'd organize a closet or something, just anything to not go into the bedroom. I'd be like, I need to label my underwear drawer. Like I did ridiculous stuff at night, 2, 3 in the morning. And so sleep became really, really hard. And then that impacted so much other stuff. And then my arms started to change shape. My body was like, I was like, why is this dress so snug? I must, everything started to change a bit, but sleep was the really big one and brain fog.
The brain fog. And so I'm going to jump around a little bit just in true
Mhm.
Nicki style. ADHD,
Yeah.
from your personal opinion, right? Because you and I are not experts in ADHD. I never
Mm-mm.
pretend to
Mm-mm.
be. I have
Nope.
it. I'm a lifer. I'm like going
Yeah.
back to the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
days of the Driven by Distraction book by Neil
Yeah. Yeah.
Hallowell that my mom bought
Yeah.
for me in high school.
Yeah.
Um, but now I hear so many women in their 40s saying, "Oh my gosh, I think I
Yeah.
have ADHD. Oh my gosh, I am late diagnosed."
Hmm.
Do you think it is linked to perimenopause, menopause?
Well, I mean, if it's not directly linked to it, the symptoms are all really there. I mean, they're all there. I can't have a conversation sometimes without doing five different things, not pay attention, forget why I was doing it, not sure where I was going, no focus. And in order for me to, it's funny, at the airport, I went through the airport and there was like this, I don't know, some lounge that I went in. I was like a guest of somebody, and they had these really tall seats that were like really tall on each side, and you kind of sit in them and you're hidden in the seats to work and focus. Are kind of like supposed to be partitioned off. And I went, this is the only way I can concentrate. I have to have everything blocked out of my life to be able, like everything, I can't see anything to be able to focus or to pay attention and not get all over. It's funny sometimes, but then really frustrating and scary sometimes too when I'm bouncing all over the place and just can't bring it in. Like I stopped being able to read. I stopped being able to do a lot of things, especially during those big times in my
Yes.
late 40s.
Yes, and same exact story, and I started blaming it on COVID, right? It was like all these
Oh yeah,
it's
of
like you
course.
wanna make sense of these things,
Yes.
or you want a
Yes.
label at times because
Yeah.
it just makes so much more sense, but COVID, I was like, "Oh, it's because 'cause we're all home in the pandemic, and I've got a 3
Yep.
and 5-year-old, and
Yep.
it's chaotic." And then
Yes.
I went to my doctor after my divorce, and I was like, "I feel like I'm losing my mind," like, in a way
Yeah.
where it's hard to explain, and she's like, "Well, what things do you have on your plate?" And I named them, and she totally sent me off with the whole, "We checked your hormones, they're fine.
Yep. Yep.
Nothing there." And
Yep.
how do you think you're supposed to no one person can handle all of
Yeah.
these things that you're talking about, so I associated it with, it must be single motherhood. And
Yeah.
it must be my
Yeah.
ADHD more
Yep.
severe because of single motherhood. But I was thinking about hormones, but when she told me I was clear, I was like, okay. So let's dive into that because it's something you cover a
Yeah.
lot of is like your hormone levels from a doctor standpoint can be fine
Hmm.
when you're
Hmm.
going through so talk about that because I still
Well,
don't
I mean, the
understand
reason
it.
is because they're all over the place. It's a roller coaster. Your hormones are changing right now. So, if you're in perimenopause, and I do want to say one thing. I do want to say kudos to you for going to a doctor and saying, I feel like I'm going out of my mind, because you know how long you have to be feeling like that to go to your doctor to say that. That
Mhm.
is not something you wake up with one day and go, I don't think we go to the doctor and talk to them about that. That is months and maybe even years of feeling so off that you that's almost a last resort. Like that's almost a last resort, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to say about perimenopause is perimenopause can be, up to 10 years before official menopause. And menopause is 1 year without your menstrual cycle. So 1 year without your period, that's when you're officially in menopause. And then everything after that is postmenopause. What's important to know about perimenopause is that is the time of so many of those tough symptoms. One, we don't know what's going on. Two, we're still getting our periods. Three, we can still get
Yes.
pregnant. So you're
Yes.
getting a period like one, for 2 weeks, bleeding like a crime scene. And then the next thing you know, there hasn't been a period for 2 months. And you're like, oh my God, am I pregnant? And then you go back to bleeding, for another, month. So that's why those tests, when somebody does a blood test, just a panel for that, those can be a little all over the place. Most of the doctors say that's not required. It's more, what are your symptoms? What is your age? I talked to one of the doctors for the documentary, The M Factor, and she said, look at it like this. You're 42, 44, 47 years old. You have erratic periods. You're not sleeping. You feel like you're gaining weight. You've got anxiety, rage, brain fog, or any of the above, two, three of the above. You can most likely assume you're in perimenopause. That doesn't mean there might not be something else going on, but that means for the most part, we can say, okay, perimenopause. Now what do I do?
Yes.
Do I want to go on a low dose birth control pill? Do I want to, look into hormone therapy? Will my doctor talk to me about hormone therapy, or do I want to treat it more with lifestyle changes or non
Oh,
hormonal?
so let's dive into those because selfishly, I said to my IG audience before this, I said, before I had a following, I couldn't really get in touch with these people that I wanted to ask
Yeah.
questions to, right? And
Yeah.
now I have this platform and
Yeah.
I've got questions and I just figure let's bring other people along for the
Yeah, I love
conversation.
it. I
Like,
love it. And I think it's the only way, it's the only way this conversation is happening with people like you. People like you not being afraid to talk about your own personal story. Cause
yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but that wasn't when my other career, I never did that. I was like, I'll tell your story. I'll make sure I'm all buttoned up and I'll talk
Yes.
about your story and tell the audience. But for me to, you know, I would have never done a interview without makeup on or my hair. Like, I don't even know what's going on with my roots right
Oh
now.
yeah, no, look at the
So, you
roots
know,
connect. Look at connectivity
well,
through the
mine are
roots. Yeah,
sprayed
go, yeah.
so
I
bad.
need the name for that product.
I know they're still not working. Oh God, I don't remember what we were talking about. It. Oh, so let's go through any of the questions that you
Yes,
have
yes.
about that because I think it's important.
Yeah, so it's the what now? But like
Yeah.
because
Now
2
what?
years ago
Right?
I got asked to do a brand deal for menopause, so, right?
Yeah.
Menopausal
Yeah.
women, and I was so flipping insulted. I was like, "I'm not that.
I am
That's not me."
offended.
And now just having, like, been listening and listening to, the Mel Robbins, like, podcasts that I just relate to, I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay to take
Yeah.
this in and learn." And now
Yeah.
I feel bad for my mom in that
I
generation that just
know.
never
I
they just
know.
did it.
Well, there was a generation that was completely skipped after the 2002 Women's Health Initiative. So they didn't even, most of them didn't even get those options because everyone was so freaked out about estrogen, so worried about
Yes,
the effects of estrogen
yes,
that they weren't even offered that.
right.
And so, a lot of those fears, unfortunately, still carry forth today. I think we're making a lot of movement and that we're doing a lot of things to change that narrative, but it's still there. And we have to tackle it from a lot of different areas. We have to tackle it with young people so young people understand, so we are not letting the next generation come up very confused. We have to tackle it in medical schools and we have to tackle it in just society, like, so you're not whispering that word.
Yeah.
Like, I would have never said it before on social media, would you? I'd been
Never.
like, what?
Never, and the fact that I am now tells you that I'm going through it because
Yeah,
something
of course.
about this just your guard gets down in a way where you lose some of your filter. You it's
Yeah,
just humility central. It's like
yeah, it
I
is.
now tell my
It
ex-husband,
is.
I'm like, "Dude, something's happening with me, and, like, I just need your support because
Yeah,
I don't want to react to our kids this way. I am not
yeah,
this type of mother."
yeah,
So, the
yeah.
reason that I'm leaning into finding help, and I haven't done this yet, this is the first day I'm talking about this is with
Oh,
you,
wow. Okay,
is
good.
yeah, so I'm looking for help because I don't want to blame my ADHD. ADHD meds do not work for me. I've tried
Hmm.
every freaking
Hmm.
one of them. I am not able to self-regulate in moments where normally the thing wouldn't bother me,
Yeah, yeah,
you know? And I don't want my kids to remember this side of me without
yeah,
me at least looking to see what can help me right now.
yeah. Well, I'm so glad you said that. And here's what I do think. I do think that help is a lot easier to find now than it
Yep,
was 3 years ago.
yep.
Telehealth has done wonders. Places like Midi and Maven and Alloy, like they've got doctors there where you can have a 10-minute consultation with them in 5 minutes and be able to have this conversation because they're hearing the story over and over again. So I'm grateful for that. I think if you have a doctor, I don't know if you have an OBGYN that's willing to talk about it, some will, some won't, but if you are exploring that and you're in perimenopause and can talk to them about hormone therapy now, you already know what's going on. Like, that's 80% of it, is to be able to say, like, hey, I know what's happening. I know what's not working. And then what else do I need to add? And then there's the lifestyle changes that we can talk about. And those are great ones too. And then change,
Yeah.
things that you can do for sex as well, which are, you could do topical vaginal estrogen. And so I've got your whole to-do list.
No, I
I've
know.
got your,
So
I've got your
let's
whole
talk
how to
through it for, like,
menopause.
the dummies. Let's do the dummies version, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
If someone's listening to this and they're like, "Shit, I need to think about this
Yeah.
conversation because I know
Yeah.
I'm feeling it, and I'm gonna end up divorced if
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
figure this out," right? Because a lot of the resentment that women are feeling is the husband does I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm
They don't
divorced, so I
understand.
tend to be the one that my friends lean on when they're frustrated with their
Of course. Of course.
and I'm an advocate for happy marriage, by the way, not divorce. So before we're taking heads off,
Yeah.
the first step you'd say is OB, GYN
Absolutely.
conversation.
OB. And
Okay.
if you don't have one that you feel comfortable with, I get a telehealth appointment. Here's why. When we know what's going on, we don't feel like we're going as crazy. When we don't know what's going on, that's where we feel like we're coming unhinged. And that's the part that I think that so many women have suffered from for so long, is alone. Like, 1 billion women are going to be in menopause this year. 1 billion women. The fact that we're just excited that we're having this conversation now is lunacy. Is lunacy. So I'm thrilled about it. But can you imagine how long it's taken and how many women and how many marriages and how many? I have a section in my book and I said, is it your hormones or your husband? Because it really is that,
I can't
right?
wait. The book is
I
March. right?
March 25th. Yeah. But I was like, is that too harsh? And I went, no, it's exactly accurate. You know how you like, you want to say it and then you're like, oh, how is this going to be received? But that is the question. The question is it this one? Like it could really just be an unhappy marriage, right? But it could also be that you have zero interest in sex anymore because your libido sucks right now. Sex is painful, which is not uncommon in perimenopause and especially menopause. When you lose estrogen, everything dries up from here to here. And and then every little thing can enrage you. That's
Yeah.
the truth.
And
Every little, like little things that never even touched you before.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I
So
see it with
it's
my
real.
kids where I'm like, and I have to say to them, I just totally was such a bitch. They're 10
But
and
the,
8, and this
but the
is the way
fact
I
that
see
you
it. I go
acknowledge it is
I
a
go,
big
"I was
deal.
just such a bitch to you over, like, that was not a big deal. So
Yeah.
let's just," and then I'll
Yeah.
do this to my daughter, like, last night, there was something that bothered me. We did this fun Oreo game, and then we have a dog, and there were Oreo crumbs on the floor, and she walked right through them. And normally I'd be like, "Layla, watch out for the crumbs." I was like, "You're walking right through the crumbs." And then I was like, "Okay, we need a thumb war." That was
Okay.
mom,
Yeah.
we did a thumb war and she laughed, but I
Good.
own
But
it.
you hate that you hate that that happened. Yeah.
Yes, she didn't deserve that, and
Yeah.
I was all uptight. So it's like when you start feeling like an uptight woman, do you remember
Yeah.
the movie with Bruce Willis and, oh gosh, I'm gonna get it wrong, and it was the one about their relationship, and she's like, "I am still fun, boop, boop," and she's trying
Oh,
to,
I know what you're talking about, and I don't remember what yeah.
and it
Yeah,
was
to
very sad
convince.
because she just was
Yeah.
this strung out,
Yes. Yes.
cranky, and everything bothered her, and then it was
But
like,
remember, that's that whole meme that we've seen on, and not meme, but like everything we've seen culturally about it in movies and TV shows. The crazy, nutty, hysteria woman. Like
yes.
these are hormones. That's what they
Oh,
are.
this is
They're
40? Like,
hormones.
the whole
This
movie
is
now.
40.
That movie was so funny
It
when I was
plays a different
30.
way to you now, right?
It does.
It's not funny anymore.
No,
It'll be
now I'm like,
funny at
"Holy shit."
it'll be funny at 50 again. It'll be funny at 50 again. So just rewatch it in a few years.
Yes. So you're right, we've just learned to, in so many ways, like, shame ourselves. Like, "Oh,
Shame
poor him.
ourselves
Poor
and
guy."
be quiet about it too. Like
Yeah.
that's the other thing is that we don't talk about it either. Like we're like, I can get through this. I don't want everyone to know what I'm going through, especially when you're at work. I don't want people to think I can't handle something. I mean, I went through in my 40s and I remember, I mean, this is terrible, but I remember this at work. I'd be like, who wrote this script? Who wrote this? Like a crazy person. And then then that became like the sentence they would mock I would hear them mocking me. And I was like, years later, I went, oh my gosh, I think that was all perimenopause. Like, that's definitely what that was. I mean, I would be nuts. It would be like, I don't know. It was like another person took me over. And then even when my husband met me, like we met, and I guess I definitely was perimenopausal. I had no idea. I remember like every time I was with him or spending the night, I'd be like bleeding everywhere. And then I'd be like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what's going on with me. It must be stress, which is what we always say. And then I'd be like crazy for 2 days of the weekend. And then I'd be fine. I'd be like, hey, I'm done with that. I don't know what that was.
We do, and there are memes about it, but now we're like, there is a time where we hit our tipping point of,
Yeah.
I am no longer laughing about this with
It's
myself,
not funny.
right? It's
Yeah.
not
No, it's not
funny
funny.
anymore. I feel like a circus clown, and I'm not. I'm gonna say it. I am such a happy person who enjoys life.
Yeah.
And
I know
late
you are.
and
I
no,
know
and
you I can see it.
no, but lately there have been moments, and this scares me. Lately,
Yeah,
there
it
have been
does.
moments where I'm not enjoying this the way I used to.
Well, I promise you're going to get back to
Yeah.
enjoying it the way you used to. I do
Yep.
really think that it's important to have that first initial conversation and get it early. Don't sit and wait for 12 months perfectly without your period. Go have
Right.
the conversation now so you can
Right.
get that started. Even if you say like I'm not doing hormones, I want to do something non-hormonal. There are options for that.
Yes.
If you say, look, I don't want to do any of that, Tamsin, you're out of your mind, then let's talk about lifestyle changes and let's talk about, you look at nutrition and diet and strength training and vaginal estrogen almost every woman can take, which is helpful if you're talking about, sex and dating and all that kind of stuff,
Yep.
because that's another conversation that you'll have to have at some point, whether
Yes.
it's now or,
Let's go
yeah,
into lifestyle.
yeah, 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 let's do that. So, lifestyle, the big changes are protein, which is a big
Oh,
pain for me. I know. I don't eat meat. So I'm like,
same.
whoa, where's
Same.
this
Look
supposed to
at us.
happen?
Look at us.
And
We're
so
kindred spirits.
I know. We said we were gonna bond on this couch. Um, and my coffee. But protein has been a big part of that. Trying to get 100 grams of protein a day, which is really hard for me, but I really try. It's been my focus. Vitamin D has also been my other focus. I really lack in that. So those two have been helpful. Um, I don't know if you're having problems sleeping.
Oh gosh, yes, and I
So,
co-sleep. I co-sleep.
okay.
My kids end up in bed with
Oh,
me, and I am
okay.
like a hot pocket in the middle of the bed, like, "Holy fuck."
But there's non-hormonal for hot flashes now if you
Yeah.
don't want to do hormones. And magnesium is also a big one for sleep. I'm sure you know that, and I've heard that, which is great. Progesterone for me was the big game changer for sleep. That was the thing that made a big huge difference. So I just like sleep like a baby now. Not every night,
Oh,
but most nights.
okay, and that's so just talk to me about those 2 things, like, what can we go to our health food store for versus what do we have to go to a doctor for?
Doctor is estrogen, which is going to, moisturize, make your brain feel a little bit better. In my opinion, it did. Progesterone did the same thing. So, estrogen, progesterone, if you decide down the line that you want to look at testosterone, that's another conversation. But I would start with those two first. Vaginal estrogen is also doctor. Drugstore for sex, lubes, oils, whatever you want to do there. And then the magnesium and vitamin D would be drugstore.
Do you have a favorite brand?
Of,
I
of which, of magnesium?
Of both, yes, because 'cause I've
Yeah,
tried a few magnesiums, and they're not
yeah.
all equal.
No, they're not.
So
It's funny. My friend has a line, Alchemind, and I really love his magnesium, and it's the
mhm.
one I use. I get it off of his website. He wrote two books, Dr. Daryl Joffrey, called "Get Off Your Acid and Get Off Your Sugar," and he was big
Oh,
about anti-inflammatory diet, and so that was what his whole thing was. But I started his magnesium before magnesium was cool.
I love
And
that.
so it's got a lemon flavor, and I literally do a shot of it. I put that much water
Okay,
in a
so it's a
bottle, I shake
powder.
it, do a shot. Yeah,
Yep,
because I don't want to be up all night peeing
right,
either. So it's a powder.
right. I found
And
a have Yep, go ahead.
yeah, so I do that one. And then vitamin D, I have a health food store here locally that has drops, and I
Yes,
put those in a shake because I can't sit there and swallow pills all day long. It make me crazy. And
I
I can't
do the
remember.
I do the vitamin, D and K, and I give it to my kids too in
Yes.
the little dropper.
Yes. Yep. In
And
K2.
then
Yep.
the magnesium, I have a fun little have you tried the little, magnesium elixir where you do a little bit of cherry juice or pomegranate juice?
Uh, oh, is it the one that you can make yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah, so
Oh,
you do
yes, yes,
I
yes, I
do the
have. It's like,
Olipop, the like, this instead of soda,
oh,
Olipop, I do
okay,
either the ginger ale or the lemon
okay,
lime, and
okay.
then I put the magnesium in, and then tart cherry
I
juice.
did. Yes, we did. We
So
tried that
good.
one. I like that one.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
My
like a
kids and I
dessert
went
too.
through a kick of that, right? Like, a little
Oh, I
bedtime,
like
little
that.
something, something,
But
so
that's fun. You have to make those things habits and routines. Otherwise, you got a freaking to-do list that you can't
yeah.
remember.
Yep, and magnesium's really good for ADHD too, so I've even tried to incorporate it with my daughter a little
It
bit.
is. It
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so that's lifestyle. Movement. I am gonna tell you, the days that I don't move are night and day from the days that I do move.
For
And
your
when
brain
people
too,
yes,
right?
and when on social
Yep.
media people say, "Oh my gosh, how are you in shape? How are you 47 and look in
Yeah,
shape?"
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, part of me is like genetics, stress.
Yeah, stress is a good one.
Yeah, and have to do if I'm not doing strength training, I'm a mess.
What's funny? Me too. I came from like the 80s of like cardio, good,
Yes.
fat and bad, carbs bad. So that was a change for me. Like I had to like change my mindset around it, but I love weight training because
Love.
I find that like the
Yeah,
fun cheat day. I always thought that. I hate cardio. Like I hate it. I do it, but I don't enjoy it.
yeah,
So like today I got on the treadmill and then I was like, "Oh, I remember I have a call I have to do." So I was like, okay, I can just do 15 minutes. So I do cheat on those days, but I do get outside in the morning and walk
yeah,
every morning. And so I know it's not always ideal or easy, but I try to do that every morning and I enjoyed it. Today it's 27 degrees out, so that wasn't ideal, but most of the days that's my movement. And then strength training has been a really big deal and upping the weights. Cause I've always heard women say like, "Oh, I don't want to get bigger." I'm like, "You're not going to get bigger. Like you
no, you're
really, what, I mean, you're not going to get bigger, but trust me that you want to have that because there's three things that come at the end that you want to start being preventative about now in perimenopause and menopause. And that is osteoporosis, because the last thing you want to do is have brittle bones. And
Oh,
that's where vitamin D and strength training really, really come in. You want to be aware of your cardiovascular and your heart health, and you want to be aware of your brain health too with dementia. Like you just need to be aware of all three of those things because they're super,
yes.
super important.
So you work out at home or do you go to a gym?
I go to a gym and then I walk in the Central Park. So I do a little
Okay.
bit of both. So I'm always wandering around Central Park and I go in circles. Like
Yes.
I don't go in any pattern. I just like go. I
We s
go.
my
I'm like,
the kids
that's
and I
it.
stayed at the Thompson Central Park
Oh, I
somewhat
love Miss
recently.
Thompson. He's right by my house.
Right? So and we loved it. That was my kid's
Yeah,
first time
that's
to the
great.
city, and I was thinking, "If I lived here, I feel like I'd always be in Central Park."
Yes. Yeah,
So
I always
you
am.
are
So if you ever
living
want
that
to come
life.
back to Central Park, just tell me.
I love that. But for weight training, because I feel like there are a lot
Yeah.
of people that are like, "Where do I begin?" I
Yeah.
personally my suggestion, and I wanna hear yours, my suggestion would be get 2 15-pound, 10-pound,
Yep.
15-pound dumbbells and put on there's really great weight training with, Juice and Toya are my favorite
Yeah.
YouTubers.
Yes. Yep.
They just it's like the 40 seconds on,
Easy.
20 seconds off. Like, I would start there and start with
Yeah.
10 minutes
I
when you
would too. And
can.
that's the other thing. You don't have to do like an hour. You can do it
Yeah,
between things. And I think we got trained the wrong way
we
about it.
did.
Like, I have to go to the gym. I have to be there for 45 minutes of this and 25 minutes of that. And then by the end of it, you've talked yourself out of it because you don't have that time. So I agree with you. I would start 10 to 15 pounds. I would also get a band. I think band and resistance training is really, really huge. You know, when you're using your own body, that's a really, really big deal. I also like, you know, I like to do stuff on the floor. I like to do stuff while I'm watching TV. I like to make sure balance is a part of my weight training days because that's a really, really big deal.
Yes.
And I do a couple of different like balance, like on one foot, on the other foot, you know, sitting down, standing up. And the other one, if you're starting out, I think is smart to do is walking lunges because I think you're going to feel those. Your legs are your biggest muscle group, and you'll really feel those all within your
Yeah.
glutes and your legs. And those
Yes.
don't require weights. You can add weights onto those, but you don't have to start there. I also do wrist weights when I walk outside. I do the 2 pound Bala weights, and so I like those because then sometimes I'm like
Yes.
out in the street, you
Especially
know.
with all the stuff that starts happening, like the shoulder
Well,
and,
the
oh,
shoulder sucks. Yeah, my shoulder sucks.
I
That's for
already have
sure.
a shitty shoulder, and now I'm like, "Oh, great.
Well,
What how am I gonna notice the difference?"
you'll notice if you have frozen shoulder for sure. That one's like a it's like I can go here, but I can't go back here. So if I'm trying to like put my arm around you in a picture, it's not going to work. Isn't that nuts?
Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
No,
I know. I
no.
thought everyone was
There
like
y
exaggerating on
You know
frozen
what's so
shoulder.
funny? There was this post, I have no idea how it ended up on my page, truthfully, but there was this guy who was talking about, what women are attracted to, and he's like he goes, "Take both of her, hands and put them behind her back and hold her while you penetrate her from behind," and I'm like, "Excuse me, my shoulder would be fucked." So,
I have
like,
frozen shoulder. That won't work for me. That's, you know,
we have to laugh because
I'm
'cause I'm
out.
like, in theory, I'm trying to picture how that works now. It's just so different.
God, I
Good
hope he
thought,
doesn't come
but
up on my feet.
good. No, I don't know how that happened. Maybe someone was stitching him. I don't know. Sometimes it takes you. I'm like, okay, great thought. Um, but I want to talk about the things you have coming up because
Yeah, I'd love
like
that.
we talked about going to the OBGYN. That is like
Yeah.
the next step for everyone.
Next step or telehealth.
Along
Like
with
if you don't have time, because I know what a
yes,
pain it can be to try to make a doctor's appointment. It's like
right.
a
And
lot.
right. And in the meantime, resources. So I
Yes.
want to ask you
Let's
to
talk
talk
about some
about your
resources.
two mega resources, which is your book
Yep.
coming up
Yep.
and then M Factor, which
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I have to dive into that. I haven't yet,
Thank you.
truthfully.
Thank you. Thank you. So the book is on pre-order right now. And then what I did is because the book is not out until March 25th, I put together a bunch of different bonuses and downloadables and symptom trackers and perimenopausal guides to make sure that everybody gets a bunch of stuff in the meantime. We also have a cool community called the Menoverse. And so we get together and talk in there just about, I don't know, trade things, trade what vitamins people are using, trade,
Love
you
that.
know, different videos. Yeah, I think it's important. The community has really changed a lot for me, the meaning of it. And so that's the book. And then for free, March 1st, I'm throwing the world's hottest menopause party. It's just a celebration. It's, you know, it's going to have conversation. It's going to have 20 to 25 of the top experts. A lot of the experts from the book will be on stage with us or be coming in virtually. And I wanted to make it free because I think it's important for people to get access to this information. And what gave me the idea and so you can sign up for that at Hottest Menopause Party if you want. But what gave me the idea for that was the documentary. So we came out in October with a documentary called The M Factor. It's been seen in over 400 cities around the country and in over 40 plus countries around the
Oh my
world.
gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I couldn't, like, when we went out for it, nobody wanted to fund it. Nobody wanted to put it on. It was crazy. They were like, there's no audience for that, Tamsin. It's very a niche group. And I went, this isn't a niche group. This
Yeah.
isn't what? And so we moved forward, and that's what we did. We put this documentary together, and it's just been really amazing to see the women. They screen it in their communities. They come together. They have conversations afterwards. We've had theaters all over the country,
Yeah.
like 500 plus women sitting together. It's
Wow.
really amazing.
So you
Yeah,
took
I'm
your
really amazing.
background in journalism
Yeah.
and you brought it into this passion. Just tell me how that all happened.
Yeah. Well, I was doing a lot of this while I was still on the air. You know, I had an incident in the studio where I had landed on the bathroom floor live, but during a live broadcast, and I had no idea what was happening. And first I went to my GP, then I went to a therapist, in between it, and they were like, "You're anxious and stressed, and you're went through your divorce, and now you're," and I was like, "Yeah, I guess so."
Wow.
Fast forward, my blood work came back and it was like, you're in full blown menopause. Because
Oh,
I didn't know that the bleeding and everything was perimenopause. I have endometrial polyps. And so I thought I was like, oh God, I got polyps again. That's what's causing this weird bleeding. So I never had that like kind of mark of 12 months with no bleeding. I never really had that. I still bleed now because of the polyps. So,
yeah.
um, and I'm full out menopause since 5 years now. So anyway, what I did is I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, gosh, I said, I keep sharing all this information with other girlfriends, but like, where do we go to have it put all together? Why don't we do some videos? And so it went from videos to like, why don't we do a TV show to why don't we do a documentary and just put it together and put it up on YouTube? And that was really what our idea was. And then PBS picked it up. So
Oh,
we had, it was
amazing.
a fight for a long time. It took us
Yeah.
years to do it. We interviewed a lot of the top experts around the country, and I think most importantly, we interviewed a lot of women, what they were going through, what stage they were at. We had one woman who was in her early 30s that went into early menopause. We had other women who couldn't have sex anymore, or like just, hated their husband, felt like they weren't themselves. Audra McDonald, the actress, incredible Broadway actress, she talked about what was going on with perimenopause with voice changes and the fact that, she couldn't sleep and that she felt like a different person. So there has been a lot of conversation, and I'm really excited about it. I'm excited that it's starting to be shared.
Wow. All right. What is your why?
Oh, I
If you could
guess my
sum it up.
why. Yeah, I was thinking about it. I just finished my audiobook yesterday, so it was like 4 days inside of a studio trying to concentrate. And for me, I was like, they made me remove my phone because I couldn't have it next to me because I was getting distracted. They were like, we're gonna take your phone. And so I was like, okay. I felt like a child. I felt like this child. My why is I don't have daughters of my own, and I hope that no other daughter has to go through what I did. I lost my mom at an early age, and I think I just see the need, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I never really made this decision. I just kind of, it just kept happening. It
Yeah.
just kept happening. Like I never went, I'm going to be a menopause advocate. That's what I'm going to do.
Wow. And see where like
it's,
life takes you.
it's crazy. I could never have said that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Never,
Yep. And it's 5
never.
years ago, if you told me I'd be sitting here talking to you with a
No.
Instagram following, I'd be like, huh? What am I talking
You
about?
and I
What
had
have you
been out like, who knows doing what.
the hands
We wouldn't
behind
be
the
sitting
back?
on the couch talking.
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, I want to ask you just a few fun girl to girl
Yeah,
questions
let's do
now,
it.
and then I just want to thank you for your time being here.
Oh,
It's like part
no.
of me feels every time I do this and I get to share moments like this, I feel like it's this virtual hug of like we're all getting through this together. We're not alone. You just said a
Yes.
billion women
A billion
here. Like,
women.
so you feel alone in this stuff.
Yeah, you do.
And to hear that you're not is all that I want to provide to people.
Yeah, I
Um,
love
but
that.
but
Thank you.
some fun stuff.
Yeah.
What is in your beauty bag when you travel? Give me like
Oh,
you have 2 go-tos, 1 go-to, 3.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, my beauty bag, if we're talking about my makeup bag, my eyelash curler and my mascara and lip gloss. Those are my three.
Do you
And
have a
then if I
favorite lip
nap,
gloss and mascara?
I do. I have a favorite lip gloss. I like the Charlotte Tilbury lip gloss, and I'm liking Jones Road mascara a
Love
lot.
Jones Road.
Yeah, me too, a lot.
Yes.
And then eyelash curlers, I have like, I don't know, 50 of them because I'm like, I have to open my eyes up. Like, what's going on? Where did my eyelashes go? So
Yes.
that's those three. For my skincare, I always have because I get a lot of like different things that I want to try constantly. I'm like, I gotta
Same.
try this.
Same.
This could be the miracle eye cream that I've always
I'm
needed
a dabbler.
forever.
I'm a
Yeah.
dabbler.
I'm like, I'll
Yep.
use it forever. And so I do have a lot of different things that I use in full disclosure. And so any kind of eye cream and a serum, like I'm big with serum. I hate when lotion, I'm like,
I
what
love a
is
good
this?
oil. I love a good oily
Yeah.
face before
Yep.
bed.
Me too.
I'm like,
I look like a greasy donut. Yep. That's what I look like before I go to bed.
okay. And then I just started talking about my neck skin is changing.
I know. I get a little Botox
Is
in
that
there.
part of I got
Well,
Botox in my
estrogen,
neck.
lack of estrogen is moisturizer.
Fuck.
Yeah.
In my
Itchy
elbows?
ears.
Have you made good eye contact with your elbow recently?
I have. I don't
Do you
go there
get
anymore.
Botox in your elbow?
No. Do
Okay,
you?
no, I no, but I mean,
Is
listen,
it a thing?
I saw my elbows recently and I was like, I'm never looking at that
I
again.
did get it here though once, and
You
I was
did?
like, "Oh, I'm never doing that again."
See, I
Yeah, it
feel like
hurt so bad.
I'm still good there. I think it's like
I did it years ago. I was like, What are you? What's wrong with you?"
but
Like,
everyone
I
thinks
don't know
they
what I was
wanna be
doing.
thin until you're aging, and then you're
Yeah,
like, That doesn't go well.
no,
Damn it."
those don't
So,
match.
I just didn't know. I'm looking for the answers to my neck. I did the Botox, and then I feel like the bands got a little bit too
Yeah,
oomph with
I
the
taught. Yep,
Botox,
yep.
but I'm
They
like,
do.
"Damn it.
Yeah, yeah. You
Damn
can't do
it."
that very often.
Right,
You
right,
can't
right.
do that very often.
Yeah. All right, anything else you wanna tell women
Ooh, you know what?
or men?
It's the men. Well, bring me back for the men one.
It's a whole other
We
conversation.
need a whole nother men one. You know what? I think it's really important to know you're not going crazy. You're not alone, and you're going to go through it. You're going to go through it if you're lucky enough to live long enough, and there are options out there for you. This is not
Yes.
like a life sentence, and so I think it's really important to know that because sometimes you can feel very dark and very alone and
Yeah.
very frustrated because you don't
Yes.
know your body anymore. And
Yes.
so, I think it's important to be aware of. There's some incredible things on the other side of it. I said the last chapter, it's the not so final chapter because I really do believe that. I believe that we have a lot left.
I love that. I do. I got so much shit to do, girl. I'm like, this is just the
I
big
love
I
you.
really genuinely 47 years
Love
old, I
you.
feel like this is the very beginning for me.
I agree with that. I
Very
agree with that.
beginning. And I'm
I agree with
excited,
that.
but I also wanna be here without feeling
Yeah.
irritated about everything.
Yeah. No, I know. Go do
So,
that. I want to hear what you say. I hope you keep in touch with me and tell me how it's going.
yes. Oh, I for sure will. And I
Okay.
just have to say
I'd love
shout
that.
out to David for introducing us.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you're on the board for
Wonderful.
Best Buddies. It's an amazing
It's
organization.
wonderful.
In my corporate days, we used to support them, and I'd go down to
Yeah.
the galas and all the fun stuff in my cute little Rent the Runway
What? I
dresses.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
So we do have a
He's
mutual
awesome.
connection, but
He's
thank
awesome
you.
since
Yes,
college.
yes.
I've known him since
Oh,
college.
he's the best. So I'll give him a little
Yeah.
shout out. But thank
Okay.
you for your time. Thank you for standing up for women
Thank
everywhere.
you.
And I cannot wait to see the documentary, to read
Good,
the book.
good.
Is the book audio as well?
Yeah, I just finished
That's
recording
what
it
you just
yesterday.
finished recording. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we can learn
It
in
is.
there about estrogen because I know a lot of people are nervous about estrogen. We can
Yes,
learn
but
about
you can learn about all of it. You can learn it in the film in 1 hour in the book, and I really wanted the book to be good. If you have brain fog, the book is going to be easy for you. I couldn't make it really deep. I wanted it to be very clear, and I did everything in the book. I went from nutrition and strength training to some recipes. I even talked about like makeup and skincare and all that stuff because it's important during this time. My clothes are
absolutely
different than they were before. So I wanted to hit on all of those things. And then obviously the big, most important things of hormones and non-hormonal options out there.
amazing. Thank you, Tamsin. You've got a
Yeah.
friend in
Thank
me. I'm
you.
so nice
Thank
to meet you.
you.
Thank you for
I
being
look forward
here.
to keeping in touch.
Have a
Bye.
good one.